Welcome to Daily Gossip. You will get daily Hollywood and global updates here. Remember to subscribe for the latest videos. The world has paused. Hearts are heavy. A silence has fallen upon the Vatican, echoed across churches, city streets, and the sacred hearts of millions around the globe. Today, we mourn the passing of Pope Francis, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the 266th Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, a beacon of hope, humility, and reform, who died on Easter Monday, April 23, 2025, at the age of 88. It is hard to find the right words to describe the emotional weight of this moment, the collective grief of the faithful, and the void that now lingers in the heart of an institution that he dared to reshape with compassion and courage. This isn't just the end of a papacy. It's the closing of an era, a farewell to a spiritual leader who redefined what it meant to serve, to love, to lead, and to forgive. He passed away in the Vatican's Casa Santa Marta, the residence he humbly chose over the Grand Apostolic Palace, and his final breath was taken in the same simplicity in which he lived, a choice that symbolized his core belief that leadership must always begin with humility. From the moment the white smoke rose over St. Peter's Square in 2013, and his name, Franciscus, was announced to a waiting world, it was clear that this pontificate would be different. He was the first Jesuit pope, the first from the Americas, the first non-European pontiff in more than 200 years, and with him came a whirlwind of change, some controversial, some long overdue, and all deeply rooted in the Gospel's call for justice, mercy, and love. His was a papacy shaped not by power, but by people, by their suffering, their dignity, their resilience. He opened the Church's arms wider to the LGBTQ+ community. He called for the protection of our planet. With his groundbreaking encyclical Laudato Si, he reformed the Vatican bureaucracy, called out the sins of clerical abuse, and challenged capitalism's grip on modern morality. He washed the feet of prisoners, hugged the disfigured, and told the world that a church locked in doctrine but deaf to pain was a church that had lost its way. But Pope Francis was more than his policies. He was profoundly human. He smiled often, laughed with children, asked for prayers as much as he gave them. He carried his own bag. He made phone calls to the grieving. He rejected the papal limousine. He visited slums, refugee camps, hospitals, and war zones. Even as his health declined, marked by bouts of pneumonia, sciatica, and colon surgery, he never stopped showing up, never stopped speaking out, never stopped being present. Just last month, he delivered what would become his final Easter blessing, Urbi et Orbi, from the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, his voice trembling, his body frail, but his spirit undiminished. In those words, we now hear a farewell, a final act of service, from a man who gave everything he had to a world so in need of healing, and that healing extended beyond Catholics. Leaders from every corner of the earth, of every faith and belief, have come forward to honor the Pope's legacy. Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the Camerlengo of the Apostolic Chamber, made the solemn announcement at 7:35 this morning. The Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the home of the Father, and from that moment, tributes began pouring in like rivers of remembrance. President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, called him a moral force whose reach extended far beyond the Vatican. President Lula of Brazil described him as the voice of the poor and forgotten. Former US President Barack Obama praised his courage to confront injustice, no matter how deeply rooted. Across the globe, cathedrals are tolling bells, flags are at half-mast, vigils are lighting up the night. On social media, millions are sharing their favorite quotes. his call to care for our common home, his plea to build bridges, not walls, his bold truth, "Who am I to judge?" Pope Francis's death is not just a Vatican event, it is a global reckoning with a legacy that dared to challenge comfort, embrace contradiction, and uplift the margins. His chosen motto, Miserando atque eligendo, meaning by having mercy and by choosing him, spoke to how he viewed leadership. Not as domination, but as dedication. Not as authority, but as availability. Not as judgment, but as journeying alongside the lost and lonely. He was a reformer, yes, but more than that, he was a listener, a dreamer, a shepherd who smelled of his sheep, a pope of the people. As we reflect on the weight of his papacy, we cannot ignore the controversies. Reform comes with resistance. His efforts to modernize the Church's tone on gender, sexuality, and climate drew ire from conservative factions. Some accused him of watering down doctrine. Others called him too political. But Francis never claimed perfection. Instead, he preached progress, not the erasure of tradition, but its fulfillment through deeper empathy. The Church is a field hospital, he said, not a customs office. And in this metaphor, he treated wounds, old and new, with grace. His legacy will be debated, yes, but also deeply admired for its sincerity, its willingness to enter into the wounds of the world. And now the world wonders, what next? Who can follow such a man? The conclave will soon gather, cardinals from every nation convening under Michelangelo's frescoed ceiling to elect the next pope. But the shadow of Francis will linger. His ghost will walk the marble halls. His words will echo through sermons and streets alike. His image, stooped yet smiling, will live on in the hearts of the faithful. For the Church he leaves behind is one more open, more self-aware, more urgent in its mission, and that is no small feat. His funeral is expected to take place in the coming days at St. Peter's Basilica, but reports suggest he wished to be buried in the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore, a testament to his love for Mary, the Mother of the Church, and a nod to his simplicity. Millions are expected to gather, to cry, to pray. There will be incense, choirs, and silence. There will be a white coffin. There will be banners of farewell. But above all, there will be a sense that we have witnessed something extraordinary, a life poured out like wine for the world. For many young people, Pope Francis was the only pope they ever knew. For them, he was the one who spoke their language, who used Instagram, who addressed mental health, who called out war and inequality. He brought Catholicism into the 21st century not by force, but by faith. He showed that kindness is not weakness, that truth must be lived, not just spoken, that holiness isn't about rules, it's about relationship. In Argentina, where his journey began, mourners have gathered outside the Buenos Aires Cathedral. They weep not just for their native son, but for the world's loss. In Manila, Nairobi, São Paulo, and Dublin, candles flicker on steps and altars. In Washington, D.C., the National Cathedral has tolled its bells 88 times. And in Rome, pilgrims are already forming lines around Vatican City to say goodbye. For many, it's not just grief, it's gratitude. Gratitude for a man who walked the walk, who knelt before prisoners, who fed the hungry, who told young people to make a mess in the name of justice. His story began humbly. The son of Italian immigrants, a young boy in Buenos Aires who loved soccer, who studied chemistry, who flirted with the idea of marriage before becoming a Jesuit. His life took unexpected turns. He battled illness. He clashed with the Argentinian dictatorship. He lived through obscurity before ascending to the highest office in Catholicism, and doing so with a sense of divine surprise. "The Lord has looked upon me with mercy," he once said. And perhaps that's what made him so relatable. His sense that he didn't deserve the spotlight, but would use it to illuminate others. So today, we at Daily Gossip do not just report his death, we honor his life. We stand with the grieving, we acknowledge the transformation he sparked. And we commit to remembering him not as a figurehead, but as a friend to the forgotten. In a world divided by politics, Pope Francis offered presence. In a time of climate despair, he preached stewardship. In an era of digital noise, he invited silence. In every moment, he asked the Church to be less afraid of change and more afraid of indifference. His name will be remembered in history books, but his heart will live on in those he touched, the refugees he embraced, the atheists he respected, the victims he defended, the seekers he welcomed. The next pope will have mighty sandals to fill, but perhaps that's the final gift Francis leaves us. Not fear of the future, but faith in it. Pope Francis, the Pope of mercy, the Pope of the margins, the Pope of peace, gone, but not forgotten. Rest in peace, Holy Father. Your flock mourns, but we will carry your light.